Reyna Silver is a new silver exploration company with a robust portfolio of Mexican silver assets. The company was built around two assets that formed part of MAG Silver. One of the projects is Peter Megaw's PhD project. Megaw is a consulting geologist with 40 years' experience in Mexican geology and is a very well-known silver and Mexican mining expert. Peter and his team are credited with some amazing silver discoveries. He is part of the management team of MAG Silver and now dedicates part of his time to Reyna Silver as Chief Technical Advisor. Peter Megaw, presenting Reyna Silver.
Mr. Megaw, welcome.
Good morning. You can hear me all right?
Wonderful. Hear you perfectly. You say good morning. Good. What time is it and where are you?
It is 8:30 in the morning in Tucson, Arizona.
Okay. Thank you for joining us so early. Do you have a cup of coffee?
I'm a tea drinker, but yes, I'm ahead of you on that already.
It's good, it's good. Willem, you two know each other, so go ahead.
Yeah, welcome in this Discovery Day. And we're very fortunate we've been founding shareholders in Reyna Silver. Actually, the big question for all investors is when can you start drilling? Because everybody's quite awaiting that news.
Well, the permits have been submitted, so now it's just a question of how the Mexican government functions in the process of COVID-19.
Yeah, is COVID-19 really a problem to operate in Mexico now?
Well, it isn't a problem for the way we're operating, but the Mexican government, which is primarily located in Mexico City, has had some operational difficulties, let's put it that way. They're functional, but they're just not as functional as we would like. I mean, we would like to be drilling next month, but I'm not sure we'll be able to do that. But we're pushing it as hard as we can.
Do you expect to start before the end of the year?
As long as we get the permits, I mean, we can start. We have everything figured out. We know where we're going to drill. We know what roads we have. We don't have to build any roads. The roads are already there. We know who we want to drill with, so it's just a question of getting that little piece of paper that says yes from the Mexican government.
As we said in our introduction video, this was your PhD project. So I think you have been waiting decades to really explore this project in a more serious way.
Yes, I mean, obviously MAG did some work here, but there was a piece of the property that MAG never controlled. And Reyna Silver has managed to acquire that property, which lets us focus in an area that I've always wanted to focus on, but we couldn't really because of the land situation.
Okay, well, I think let's start with your presentation, and then afterwards we can do some more Q&A. Thank you.
That sounds great. Okay, so good morning. It is a pleasure to present on Reyna Silver. Like everybody in these kinds of conferences, I will be making forward-looking statements. And so please do your due diligence, do your homework before you invest. Reyna Silver is a very new company. We just rolled out in June, although as Willem said, we've been building the company for some time. Two principal assets are the GUIGUI property here in Chihuahua, Mexico. This is right outside the city of Chihuahua. This is in the Santa Eulalia district. This is the reason the city of Chihuahua exists. Our number two project is the Batopilas district, which is the highest grade silver deposit ever found in Mexico. The ore bodies there were essentially crystallized native silver. And then we have two early stage projects, Durazno and Matilde, out here in eastern Sonora. This is sort of mulatto's gold type of country, so low sulfidation epithermal silver gold systems. Why invest in Reyna Silver? We have a portfolio of properties with potential for high-grade district scale exploration potentials focused on silver. High grade is important because high grade lets you sleep at night if you're an investor in the company and you know that the project is economic. And district scale matters because you need to be able to survive at least 2 market cycles for a deposit to really make a lot of sense. We are very fortunate in terms of the group of people we've put together, our exploration team. team in Mexico are people who've worked with me for more than 30 years looking at this very specific deposits we're working with. A lot of skin in the game. Management owns over 18% of the company. Institutional ownership is over 40%. We have good liquidity, strong balance sheet, and we have coverage by several well-known letter writers. In addition to me being involved, we're very fortunate to have Doug Kerwin also working as a technical advisor. He was heavily involved in the discovery of Oyu Tolgoi in Mongolia, rethought the Cuale district in Jalisco, Mexico, and has been involved in a number of projects. He received the Thayer Lindsley Award in 2004, so he beat me by 13 years in receiving that particular honor. Capital structure, 86 million shares outstanding. Market cap is approximately 120 million at the time this was done. After last week's downturn, we're right around $1, so the market cap is about $86 million. We have just under $12 million Canadian in the bank, and this wheel gives you the percentage, 18% management and board. Mag Silver has 17% of the company, institutional 40, and retail at about 20, just under 25. We have several major important shareholders, including Sprott Asset Management, Commodity Discovery Fund, and the others that you see here. So the Santa Eulalia district, the GUIGUI project, is a carbonate replacement deposit. And there's several reasons why we look for these. They're not deposits that are necessarily familiar to people. Certainly, they're more familiar than they were a few years ago, and I'll explain why in a minute. But they're large, 10 to 150 million tons. Santa Eulalia district has already produced 50 million tons, and as I'll show you, we think half of the district remains to be found. They're high-grade deposits, 5 to 50 ounces silver, 3 to 25% zinc, 3 to 25% lead, significant copper, gold, and a number of other elements come along with it. Typically low mining cost, metallurgically docile, which means you can get the values out without any problem, and as is increasingly important, these projects have a minimal environmental footprint. So when we look at the geology of the Mexico carbonate replacement belt, these red dots represent the large carbonate replacement deposits of Mexico. The green or smaller ones, you can see very easily that you want to be right on this line of the big red dots, and Santa Eulalia is the belt buckle on the Mexican carbonate replacement belt. Carbonate replacement deposits are the second largest contributor to the historic silver production of Mexico. They're basically the backbone of Mexico's world-class underground silver, lead, zinc mining industry. And exploration along this belt has been very successful in finding more deposits. That's how we found the Cinco de Mayo for MAG. This gives you an idea of what some of these deposits look like. Santa Eulalia at 51 million tons, Nika at 45, Bismarck at 17, Cinco de Mayo 12.5, and several smaller deposits as well. Good grade, big. Several of these are in active production. So the GUIGUI project, which is what's shown here in yellow, this is the combined project, what MAG had plus La Chinche, which is what has been added to it. Santa Eulalia district is Mexico's biggest CRD and very important producer of silver, lead, and zinc. It's produced over 500 million ounces of silver at these kinds of grades, 300 grams silver, 8.2 lead, 7% zinc. So tremendous metal endowment in this system. Our property is here. The two principal mining areas are the West Camp, the Buena Tierra and Potosi mines, and the East Camp, operated by Grupo Mexico. MAG focused most of its work looking for the continuation of the San Antonio mine because we didn't control this critical piece of property right here. So the carbonate replacement deposit model, which we're following, involves an intrusive stock a magma body that is driving high temperature alteration around it, and then the ore fluids move away from it, mineralizing the skarn and creating these massive sulfide mantos and chimneys. So these ore bodies out here are essentially nothing but lead, zinc, silver, and iron sulfides. This part of the system has been mined continuously from a surface outcrop for 5 kilometers horizontally and better than a kilometer vertically. And this part of the system has never been found. That's what we want to look for. And this model has been proven in a number of systems. So when we look at the West Camp, which is the bigger part of the system, we see from the geometry of the ore bodies, the geometry of the intrusions, a whole series of geochemical vectors, that the source of this is to the southeast of the historic part of the district. The property line between GUIGUI and the rest of the district falls right about here. So what we're looking for is this intrusive center with large volume, high-grade, consistent mineralization surrounding it. Now we have pre-mineral altered volcanics on the surface that we have to look through into the limestone, which is what's shown here in blue, and that's what we're working with right now. So this is a drone shot from over GUIGUI looking back at the historic mining district. Here's a series of the old workings. There's more all the way out here. The heart of the West Camp production area is back over here. What we have to work with is looking through these altered volcanics, and you can see this bleached out kind of coloring to the volcanics here. And this is what the human eye sees. All we see is bleached looking rock. But what we've done, which MAG had not done because it didn't exist at the time, is we brought in satellite, hyperspectral satellite imagery, the WorldView 3 satellite. So human eye sees this, WorldView 3 sees this, that sees each individual alteration mineral that all the human eye sees blends together because it's working with a different part of the the light spectrum. And so what we see is in this particular area, right where this Chinche property, which we acquired, and the GUIGUI property, which came from MAG, we have a series of coincident, essentially concentric alteration mineral halos. And for some strange reason, this is where we're talking about concentrating our drilling to begin with, and I'll show you more about that why. Now, MAG also flew some very sophisticated geophysics that generated some very interesting looking anomalies like this one, where there's a cross between at least 2 and maybe 3 directions. This is an obvious place to put a drill hole. That's never been drilled. We have MAG and TEM, electromagnetic geophysics. None of these anomalies have ever been drilled. So what we're doing is reprocessing these data, adding the hyperspectral data, new surface mapping, and new geochemistry to come up with tightened drill targets. So this is a bit of a dog's breakfast here, but I'm showing you this because this is Discovery Day, and this is how discoveries are made. You have to come into an area with some new ideas, bring a series of new tools with you, put them together, and come up with your drill targets. So we take the geometry of the West Camp geology and geochemistry, which is pointing in this direction in terms of where its source was. We have a whole series of historic prospects and geochemical anomalies on the surface in this area. We can see intersecting structures. These things shown in blue are surface mappable structures. We have fluorite cemented breccia pipes, a whole series of them here, here, and over here. We have our stacked hyperspectral anomalies. What I showed you is concentrated right here, but we have another group of these coincident hyperspectral anomalies over here. And then we have the underlying geophysics. In this case, this is the TEM, and you see this very strong northeast-southwest pattern, which is also reflected in some of the structures we see on the surface. And there's also a northwest-southeast pattern, again, reflected on the surface and in the geophysics. So when we put all of this together, this is where we decide to shoot our first drill holes, because what we're looking for is that intrusive center at depth. Once we find that, we'll work outward from that because there's no reason to think that the fluids only moved in this direction. They probably moved along these northeast structures as well, and they could well have moved to the southeast from that center. So as I mentioned in the intro, we're putting all of this together. We've submitted the drill program. We've submitted the permit applications. So permitting is in process, and we hope to be drilling by sometime, well, October or November. Our second project is the Batopilas Native Silver Project. This is a district scale former producer. Batopilas was the highest grade silver mine ever operated in Mexico. It is in southwest Chihuahua. It's in the bottom of this canyon. It's produced probably in excess of 300 million ounces of silver. The ores were essentially crystallized native silver. MAG did an enormous amount of work, a lot of remapping of the district, rethinking of the geology. We got some drill holes that got us in the right place, and some big storms came along and washed out some roads that have now been fixed. But again, this was not on the front of MAG's burner. Like GUIGUI, it was a victim of MAG's success in the Fresnillo district. So one of the few mining districts in the world where native silver was the primary ore. To show you how rich the ores were, this is 1 month's production, 350,000 ounces of fine silver back in 1906, back when the mines were last really in operation. About 300 million ounces produced at a grade of well over 1.5 kilograms per ton. This is a coin from the middle 1800s, minted in Batopilas from Batopilas silver. There's over 30 known veins in the district. Most of these were mined from the surface during the Spanish colonial era. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, there was a plan to drive a tunnel from one side of the district all the way over to the other. They got this far. So this is as far as those got. They got a lot of production from those veins down below, but in 1913, the Mexican Revolution interrupted activity, and there has been no concentrated mining activity in the Batopilas district ever since. So we have a lot of these things on the surface that tell us they go to depth. In this part of the district, they mine to as much as 400 meters below the river level. So you saw the topography. There's several hundred meters above us, several hundred meters below us. We have a good vertical distance to expect mineralization. This is what some of that silver looks like. We've developed targets around the historic mines and in the surrounding more than 1,000 hectares that we've got. MAG did get some drill intercepts. We got 1.7 meters of 2.5 kilograms, 1 meter of 3 kilograms. Some of those intercepts were as much as 19 kilograms per ton. So extremely high grade. So we've got detailed mapping, extensive channel and chip sampling. We're relogging MAG Silver's drilling results. We're reinterpreting the geophysics, and we're doing the same hyperspectral imagery that we did at GUIGUI at Batopilas. So that's something brand new that we're bringing to this target. We expect to be drill ready by fourth quarter, so we should be able to drill this project early next year. So as a whole, Reyna Silver has a lot of exploration catalysts. We've defined our drill targets at GUIGUI. We've submitted our permits. Initial program will be 10,000 meters of drilling. We've consolidated the district, and Jorge may actually be involved in some additional consolidation. At Batopilas, we're defining our drill targets, bringing the same group of people and knowledge and targeting mechanisms to bear, and we expect to be drill ready, at least ready to submit permits by the end of the fourth quarter. So if you're involved with Reyna Silver, you're investing in a group of people with a track record of multiple world-class discoveries. We have GUIGUI and Batopilas, which are district-scale, high-grade silver potential targets. We're very well funded to get meaningful exploration results, and we've got high liquidity with a strong balance sheet. If you want more information, contact Jorge at reynasilver.com. And with that, I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for this presentation. We have time for some Q&A, some more Q&A. We had some questions when you were presenting. One of the questions is, do you think the stock got a little ahead of itself? We've seen a run-up until, what was it, 150, 160, giving Reyna Silver a market capitalization of over 100 million. That seems a little rich.
Well, you know, it wasn't anything that Reyna Silver did. It was something that the market did to Reyna Silver rather than the other way around. We saw a tremendous upswing in the price of silver, the price of gold, excitement about exploration for the first time in a number of years. And I think, you know, exploration is really what the Reyna story is all about. And if you look around, there aren't that many new exploration stories out there that are focused on making big, high-grade discoveries. So maybe the market the market's enthusiasm carried us a little farther than was perhaps justified at the time. But I don't think that has any impact whatsoever on the quality of our projects and the potential that they have.
Yeah, I think that's right. And also, full disclaimer, we were very early investors ourselves, participated in the first financing rounds, and we sold some of our shares ourselves in the run-up. Market capitalization is now 80 million. I think Max Silver also sold some of their shares in recent days or weeks. Is that right?
Yes, again, for reasons of a little bit of liquidity and, you know, positioning as an insider with the additional financings and things like that, what your percentage was in terms of being an insider and certain kinds of reporting kicked in because of that. So the adjustment, the folks in Vancouver decided to make that adjustment.
Yeah. Some call you Mr. Silver. You're a real well-known and famous silver geologist. How come there are so few listed silver companies around anymore?
I think that has to do with the nature of silver. It's hard to find really good silver deposits. When you take into account the fact that 80% of the world's silver production is byproduct, you really are dealing with a relatively small number of deposits that are dominated by silver. And
so why is it
so cheap? A lot
of
companies, I agree, but a lot of companies prefer to recast themselves as gold companies or copper companies and recast their silver as gold equivalent or copper equivalent or zinc equivalent. Or the other way around. There are some silver companies that recast their gold and base metals as silver in a what I refer to as alchemy. That makes me very uncomfortable. I like to see strong silver grades in my silver projects.
But when there are so few real silver discoveries around, and silver is needed, 60% of all silver is used in the industry, shouldn't the silver price be much higher?
Yes is the simple answer, but having been a silver geologist for 40 years, I have seen silver go through extended periods of time where the silver price did not seem to fit where I thought it was. And this is one of the reasons for focusing on high grade, because if you have a deposit that makes money at any silver price or a very low silver price, then you and your investors can sleep at night not having to worry about whether the silver price has to go up for your deposit to be economic. And as long as you can maintain that kind of floor and your deposit is big enough to last a couple of market cycles, then between those times when you're sleeping but maybe slightly fitfully, the rest of the time you can party all night if that's what you want to do, because you're very happy about your deposit being economic. And that's really what it's all about. It's a question of the quality of the particular asset you're involved with. And that's what Discovery Day conferences like this are all about, is helping people find the companies with the assets that look like they will make them money.
Well, thanks for this. One last question. How much of your time do you spend on Reyna Silver, your professional time?
About 15%.
Okay, thank you for this. And we go on to the next company.
Yes, this was Peter Megaw on Reyna Silver. Bye-bye.
Thank you.